Okay, so we are testing the getUser method inside of our user controller, and our class under the test is user controller, which is our REST controller, and the method under the test is getUser, and we're testing the business logic inside of this method. So let's go back to our user controller test. We have the user controller in our test class, and we have user service, which is a mock, and we have created a couple of step objects for it to work. So let's now make use of our user controller and make a call on the getUser method. GetUser, and it can take user ID. So I will use the value of user ID I have created here. And if I look at the implementation of getUser, the getUser method inside of the REST controller will return user REST. So I will go back here and I will assign the result of the getUser method to a new object of user REST data type, like this. Now let's import user REST. And now we can create some assertions and see if our unit test is passing. Well, first of all, I will assert that the user REST is not null. And if it is null, then our test should fail. So I will use assertNotNull, and I'll give it an object of user REST. Okay, so let's create a couple of more assertions. Let's assert that the user ID we gave it is equal to the user ID which is returned and is inside of user REST. And to do that, I will use assertEquals, and the expected value will be the user ID, and the actual value is inside of user REST. So user REST get, and then public user ID. So these two should be equal. And I can assert that other fields that are important to me are also not null, and they're also equal. So I will reuse assertEquals, and then I will assert that the user DTO object has a class field which is called first name. Let's say if our first name that we have set is equal to the first name that was returned back with the user REST. And let's do the same for the last name. Okay, so I can also assert that the list of addresses is equal. So in this case, I will use assertTrue, and I will take user DTO, and then I will get list of addresses and check its size, and I will assert that the list of addresses that we have given to our user data transfer object here is equal to the list of addresses that the getUser method has returned, like this. You get the idea. We're making a call to get a user with provided user ID, and we need to make sure that information that is returned from that method is valid and meets our expectations. Okay, so let's assume that our test getUser method is done, and we will run a unit test and see if it passes. Run as JUnit test. And here we go. The bar is green, and we have user controller test, and the only method that inside of it is test getUser, which is successful. Okay, so let's continue.